There she is, Ohio Stadium, site of tonight's game between the third-ranked Buckeyes and the 2-1 visiting Wisconsin Badgers. What's going on, everybody? It's Andy Evans here with your Columbus Wired Quick Hit pregame preview. As always, I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. And as most of you have probably already gathered, I like to go into a little bit of history between Ohio State and their team and the team that they're about to play. But before I do, real quick announcement, as pretty much everybody out there knows, Travion Henderson, Jackson Smith-Njigba look like they're going to play tonight. Nothing said about Smith-Njigba throughout the week. Henderson, as Ryan Day stated in both his interview sessions on Tuesday and Thursday, he expects him to play. His injury is nothing long-term. It's a short-term thing. So I guess we're going to find out here come 7:30 tonight whether or not Travion Henderson is going to take the field. We have yet to receive an official game status report. That has not come through yet because we're looking at it's about 2:30 in the afternoon so far right now. So no status report has been made available yet. Hopefully Travion's name is not on it, or if it is, he's nothing more than a game time decision. So let's take a look back though on the Buckeyes and the Badgers. The Buckeyes owning this one 61-18-5. Healthy margin for the Buckeyes. In fact, that is the worst winning percentage against any team, any Big Ten team that Wisconsin has. Not good stuff. 31 wins, 7 losses, 2 ties here at the Horseshoe for the Buckeyes when it comes to playing Wisconsin. 8th year Wisconsin head coach Paul Chryst so far has yet to beat the Buckeyes. He is 0-4, and of course, as we know, Ryan Day is 2-0, with both those wins coming in the same season. Get to that here in just a second. Buckeyes currently on an 8-game win streak, including 3 wins in the Big Ten championship game. 2014, that 59-0 plastering of the Badgers, which of course was good for a Big Ten title as well as a college football playoff berth. And the Buckeyes, of course, went on to win the national title after that. 2017, number 3 ranked Wisconsin. They had everything going for them. Undefeated. All they needed to do was beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. A 2-loss Ohio State team. An Ohio State team that got plastered themselves by Iowa earlier in the year. Yeah, we won't go into that. But a bad beat down by the Buckeyes. They were 10-2 walking into that game. And they ended up upsetting the 3rd-ranked undefeated Wisconsin Badgers, ruining their hopes for a Big Ten title as well as ruining their chances at a college football playoff berth. And then 2019, Ryan Day, both of his wins coming that season, one of which was right here in the shoe, 38-7 regular season beatdown, a bushwhacking of the Badgers here in the Horseshoe. And then at the end of the year, the Buckeyes had to overcome a 21-7 halftime deficit and blank the Badgers in the second half on their way to a 34-21 win, and once again gave them a Big Ten title. So this 8-game win streak started in 2011. And a lot of us probably remember that season. That was the Luke Fickell year. It was, of course, the following season after Jim Tressel was suspended. Yada, yada, yada. We won't go into all of that. But 2011 was when that this current 8-game win streak started. Right back here in the shoe. Let me see if I can get myself a little better picture. There we go. Right there in Ohio Stadium. 2011 is when this current 8-game win streak started. And of course, if you forgot how that game went, I'm here to remind you, an insane game. Last 8 minutes saw 4 touchdowns scored between both teams, including the most memorable one by Braxton Miller, where the true freshman quarterback scrambled out of the pocket to his right and found a wide-open Devin Smith, who had gotten over top of coverage in the end zone for a 40-yard bomb with 20 seconds left to go to give the Buckeyes a 33-29 win. So, at home here, or I already said that, I'm sorry, 31-7-2 the Buckeyes are all-time. The last time that Wisconsin got a win here in Columbus, 2004, a 24-13 win, and that was the last time that Ohio State have lost to Wisconsin at home. 2010 is the last time they have lost, period. In fact, since this loss here in the Horseshoe in 2004, Ohio State is now 11-1 versus the Badgers. So, what do we know about this current Wisconsin team, though? Well, we know that they came in pre-ranked, number 18. They slipped a spot after their 38-0 beatdown of Illinois State in the season opener. They slipped one spot to number 19, and then the very next weekend, they completely fell out of the top 25 after losing 17-14 at home to Washington State. Now, a lot of people out there really got down on Wisconsin for losing 17-14 to a Washington State team who, believe it or not, we'll see what that loss is going to mean to Wisconsin, because right now the Cougars are actually 3-0. They're doing okay so far this year. They're not ranked or anything like that, and we're going to get into an offensive stat as to why I believe that loss is not as good, or it's going to look bad on Wisconsin come down the road. But essentially, we'll see. We'll see what that loss looks like. But on the offensive side of the ball, Badgers led by a sophomore running back, Braylon Allen, who should actually be a true freshman this year, not a true sophomore, because last year he reclassified himself, and all he did was run for over 1,200 yards, had 12 touchdowns, which was good enough to become a unanimous all Big Ten second team selection. So look out for number 0, Braylon Allen. When that guy gets the ball, he can do some special things. This year, he's averaging 110 yards a game. He's got 5 touchdowns. And in the wins versus Illinois State and last weekend's dusting of New Mexico State, 66-7, Braylon Allen averaged 8 yards a carry, and all 5 of his touchdowns came in both of those games. However, in the loss against Washington State, averaged a little over 4.5 yards carry, which is still pretty good average, but he did not score a touchdown. In fact, he had 21 carries for 98 yards. And under center, 4th-year quarterback and 3-year starter, Graham Mertz. Last year, a little bit of a rough go of it, however, completing 60% of his passes, over 1,900 yards, 10 touchdowns against 11 interceptions. But so far this year, Mertz actually off to a lot better start. He's completed 70% of his throws for 697 yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. In the loss against Washington State, he actually didn't have too bad of a game. Completion percentage-wise, it could have been better. He only threw 58% of his passes complete, but he did have 227 yards, 2 TDs. He did throw one of his 2 interceptions in that Washington State loss. However, on the ground, we shouldn't have to worry about a mobile quarterback like Ohio State had to worry about last weekend in DeQuan Finn, who ran for 70 yards on 7 carries, including a 23-yard touchdown run, and both touchdown passes of 40 and 50 yards apiece came from him scrambling out of the pocket, and that's DeQuan Finn. Don't have to worry about that this weekend with Graham Mertz. Averages about 3 runs per game, and that includes taking sacks, because in college football, a sack is considered a run, not a pass like it is in the pros. So he averages, for his career, 3 runs per game. He's got a total of 6 touchdowns on the ground, and a total, yes, a total, folks, for his career, Graham Mertz has rushed for a whopping -4 yards. So they don't have to worry about Graham Mertz scrambling around and making plays with his feet. They're just going to have to worry about trying to get up the middle, put pressure on the edges, and hopefully get some tackles for loss and some sacks. In the OSU defense, speaking of getting up the middle, causing some pressure and getting some sacks, right now they're giving up 278 yards a game, which is good for 21st in the nation. Not bad for a defense that was obviously looked down upon last year, and people have kind of given still a little bit of flack, maybe a little bit of flack this season, considering they've kind of steadily given up more points every game. But still, 278 yards a game, 194 through the air, 84 on the ground. I'd say a much improved defense at this point. And they haven't allowed a single rusher over 100 yards. Going to be interesting to see if Braylon Allen can break that streak. Like I said, DeQuan Finn is the only one who's come the closest, and he had 70 yards last weekend. Finally, though, this defense, 2 turnovers last weekend, including a Ronnie Hickman interception to start the third quarter, as well as sorry folks, I'm trying to stabilize my phone here for you, as well as a fumble recovery in the fourth quarter. So that was good to see the Buckeyes finally get their first 2 turnovers of the season. Linebackers Tommy Eichenberg, Steele Chambers, and Cody Simon right now leading the way, first, third, and fourth, respectively, on the team. Eichenberg has 19 tackles, while Chambers comes in with 13. Cody Simon has 12. And then there is the safety, Lathan Ransom. Boy, what a turnaround this kid has made after getting a bad compound fracture to his left leg in last year's Rose Bowl, or well, I should say this year, but you know what I mean. This past season's Rose Bowl, he has come back strong. He is currently second on the team in tackles with 12, and he has been playing his heart out, making some great plays, especially the ones that we saw him make there in the Notre Dame game. And the Rocket, Ronnie Hickman, can't forget about him right now, coming in 5th on the team with 9 tackles, and has the team's only interception, which came last weekend against Toledo. So, one more thing to keep an eye on is Ohio State's red zone defense. They have only allowed 5 touchdowns right now, granted against 6 trips. So the percentage is high that if you get into the end zone, you're probably going to score a touchdown against Ohio State, but just getting into the end zone is the key. Right now, those 6 trips tied for 19th best in the country, and they've only allowed 1 touchdown in the red zone, and that was in the first half against Notre Dame. So some things to keep an eye on, that if this defense today wants to be successful against Wisconsin, stop the run, put pressure on Graham Mertz, don't let him in the red zone. That sounds like pretty much the key to success every single game, though, right? Don't let the other team get into the red zone. Although Toledo scored all 3 of their touchdowns outside of the red zone last weekend, so maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. How about Wisconsin's defense? All they've got to do is take down the number 1 offense in the nation, led by Heisman hopeful quarterback C.J. Stroud. Right now, Buckeyes averaging 565 yards a game. They're also tied themselves for offensive efficiency in the red zone with 13 scores on 13 trips, and they're doing a pretty good job mediating that with 6 rushing, 6 passing touchdowns, and 1 Noah Ruggles field goal. And if the Wisconsin defense is going to be successful, not only do they have to stop C.J. Stroud, they're going to have to play some one-on-one coverage, something that Paul Chryst said is really going to be the deciding factor for them winning the game. And I don't know right now if a banged-up Wisconsin defense has the horses to hang with one-on-one coverage against guys like Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. and a Jackson Smith and Jigba. Is tonight going to be the game where Jackson Smith and Jigba can finally break out, can finally have that game that everybody's waiting for him to have? It's not like it's been his fault. I mean, getting injured against Notre Dame, not playing against Arkansas State, and then seeing very limited time last weekend against Toledo. He just hasn't really had an opportunity to get out there and show everybody what he is made of. Not that we didn't see it last year, but I know everybody was expecting him to repeat. Now with him really not having played the first 3 games, let's hope that he's healthy enough to get out there and show everybody what he is still capable of. So Buckeyes also probably gotta run the football effectively. I think that they're going to be able to match up defensively, or against Wisconsin's defense. Once again, they're banged up. Their starting corner, Alexander Smith, or at least the guy who was slated to be their number 1 corner coming into fall camp, has been out with a hamstring injury since before fall camp. So now in his spot is a redshirt freshman, Ricardo Hallman, who is going to get his 4th straight start today. So far, he's got 5 tackles, 1 interception, 1 pass breakup on the season. And the Badgers have been kind of stingy. They've been kind of stingy on defense this year. They're only allowing 246 yards a game. That's good for 11th in the country, and they're 13th in the nation against both the run and the pass, respectively. In fact, their passing defense right now tied for second in the country with 7 interceptions. They've only allowed 1 passing touchdown. Now, before you start doing something, yelling, screaming, going crazy about how Ohio State definitely needs to show this Badger defense what they're made of, let's take into account who the Badgers have played offensively in Illinois State, an FCS team, in New Mexico State, an offense that's currently ranked 130th out of 131 FBS teams, and a Washington State offense that's currently ranked 96th. Tonight, the Badgers are going to face the best offense that they're going to face all year. Let's face it, right? This offense is not number 1 in the country for any old reason. With horses like Stroud, Harrison, Abuka, Smith and Jigba, hopefully Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, maybe even Dallin Hayden, maybe. Probably not. I doubt you're going to see Hayden tonight, but even still, Ohio State's just got way too many horses for Wisconsin to be able to keep up with. So, having said that, final thoughts. Ohio State, 19-point favorite. Their average margin of victory in the 8-game win streak here at home is 34-18, and they're picked by 19 points. Now, the last 2 games, the Buckeyes actually started off strong against Arkansas State and Toledo, scoring on at least their first 3 offensive drives. In fact, they scored on their first 7 drives against Toledo last week. Excuse me. Versus Notre Dame, they actually scored on their second possession of the game. Of course, they went in with only 1 score after the first half, but were able to punch it in twice there in the 3rd and 4th quarter to make it a 21-10 win, right? So, personally, I think the Badgers are going to come in fired up to play. They're excited. They know that this is a huge test for them. It is a huge game for the program. A win like this obviously is going to catapult them back into the top 25. Their guys are fired up. They're going to be ready to play. I think for about the first half, things are going to get a little interesting. I think Wisconsin's going to give the Buckeyes all that they can. In fact, don't be surprised if Wisconsin maybe takes an early game lead, has some Buckeye fans scratching their head, but by the end of it, when it's all said and done, Ohio State's guns are going to be way too powerful for Wisconsin to keep up with. So my final score for tonight's game between the undefeated 3-0 third-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes and the visiting 2-1 Wisconsin Badgers, Ohio State 38, Wisconsin 17. There's your Columbus Wired Quick Hit pregame preview, folks. I'm Andy Evans, as always. Thanks for coming along for the ride, and I'll talk to you guys after the game.